I think I'm ready to go. Calvin! Woo!
The slide, please. Can you guys keep going? You to join me in this song. The band's going to keep playing, of course. This is a song I learned from Fridays for Future, and I've led at many climate rallies now. Can we keep playing, please? Thank you. So we keep repeating, the tide is rising. Sounds like this. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The trees are growing. Trees are growing, and so are we. The trees are growing, and so are we. The trees are growing, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, the land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The flowers are blooming. Flowers are blooming, and so are we. The flowers are blooming, and so are we. The flowers are blooming, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called. This is where. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. Good morning to the place you were called to be this morning, Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I welcome you. My name is Suzanne Mazars. I'm the music director, and I have your announcements for the coming week. First announcement is our choir rehearses every Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. If you're interested in joining our choir, talk to me after service. Our children's program called Lifespan Learning is seeking volunteers to help with the kids, occasionally on Sunday mornings. You can talk to Julia, our LL director, if you're able to help out. We're also looking for volunteers to help be a greeter Sunday mornings. You'll be needed once or twice a month to be the face of neighborhood as folks arrive. You can see Luann for more info about being a greeter. Games night is happening Saturday, April 27th. That is this Saturday. Please join your fellow congregants and friends for a fun evening playing board games from 6 to 10, hosted by Gail Reynard and Gordon Klee. Neighborhood Gallery presents The Spirit of Creativity, an ongoing group show happening until the end of May. You're welcome to visit the upper gallery after service today. We'll put the lights on as well as enjoy the paintings right behind me. Our AGM is coming up next Sunday after service. It will be both in person and on Zoom, but Zoom is information only. If you are voting, you have to be in person. If you're unable to attend but still would like to have your vote, please fill out a proxy form and give it to Steve, our secretary, before the AGM, clearly. Neighborhood Caring Circle. The Caring Circle provides care and support to congregants in times of need, like talking on the phone, sending cards and notes, home and hospital visits, and providing transportation. If you are interested in volunteering, please speak with our contract minister, Reverend Pat Trudeau, who I saw is here today. There's Rev Pat. And join the meeting this Friday at 10 a.m. on our Zoom. Love and Grief for Israel-Palestine, a sharing circle. This is an opportunity to gather as community and share our deep love for humanity and grief for the suffering in Israel and Palestine. This will be a spiritual gathering, not a political one. This will be co-facilitated by Bruce Line, Peter Marmerick, myself, and Reverend Pat Trudeau, happening this Thursday from 7:30 to 9:30 here in Rafos Hall. The Danforth Multi-Faith Commons, of which we are a part, is continuing with their social justice speaker series. On Thursday, May 9th from 7 to 9, here in our space, we will have Dr. Leah Steele and Jason Altenberg to talk about harm reduction and the opiate crisis. That is open to everyone. Question to the community. We will be exploring this question and asking for your responses later in the service. Do you have a story of personal transformation? What brought it about, and what image from nature comes to your mind as you think about it? Our services are created by our staff and volunteers, myself, the music director, Julia Thompson, our lifespan learning director, Reverend Pat Trudeau, our contract minister, Gordon Thorne is our service weaver today. Joe Strakowski is on our AV desk, and Natalie Zand is running our Zoom. We also thank our greeters, our counters, lifespan learning volunteers, our kitchen fairies, all of who are named in the cappuccino room. At this point, I'd like to see if Tony Rappaport is on Zoom for a special announcement.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Good morning, everyone. We have been members of Neighborhood for almost 20 years, and I think that one of the things that I've always loved about Neighborhood is the conversations that we've been able to have with people there. I just love the community. I love the range and interest of all the people and the conversations that come up all the time. And I've been a member of the board for just under a year now, since last spring. I'm the youngest, most recent member of the board. And for me, the board has been an opportunity to continue those conversations in a little bit more depth with people who are deeply concerned about neighborhood or deeply interested and excited about neighborhood and want to talk more about it. And for me, that's really the bottom line of what it's all about, to be a member of the board. And I also feel that our best decisions, which we sometimes make, of course, that's our role, is the best decisions come out of those congregational conversations that are happening all the time. And when we remember that, we're really able to represent the congregation and make good decisions. So I encourage anyone who's interested in more conversation about neighborhood to consider joining the board, and we'll have another great year of building and growing. Thanks.
Thanks, Tony. And Reverend Pat has an announcement.
Next Sunday, April 28th, we will have a joining ceremony for new members. So if you are wanting to join, just come and speak to me, and we will celebrate the joining. Thank you.
Just flip that slide back one, please. Next Sunday, we continue in our monthly theme of transformation. Next Sunday will be April 28th. Our message is Welcome Home, Membership and Remembership with our speaker, Reverend Pat Trudeau. We'll have guest musician Rula Saeed. Service weaver will be Jillian Newcomb, and Time for All Ages with Julia.
We welcome you to our neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. Thank you for joining us, whether you're here in person or with us on Zoom. My name is Gordon Thorne. I will be your service weaver or leader this morning. We start today's service by creating a sacred space. Now, sacred space is fragile and easily destroyed by ringing and distracting devices. So let's start by silencing those devices. And now I invite you to join us in reading our invocation. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. Well, this morning I've invited Lynn Evans to come up and light our chalice for us, and we're going to do that now. I'm going to come and get you, Lynn.
And I invite the Spirit Band back up for our prelude. Whoa. Thank you.
Oh, right. Here's a little song I wrote. I think I was inspired by Paul McCartney on this one. Yeah. It's about birds. It's pretty much, you know. Wait.
Excuse my typo, it's Bird Pond.
Oh, Bird Pond.
Excuse me.
Like,
Sorry about
it's
that.
like a game you play with a shuttlecock.
Whoops.
I want to be where the sun dapples water, silent the egret in search of the fish. She only comes when the weather gets hotter. A day such as this grants a wish. I want to be with you here by the lakeside. Song of the sparrows not heard in the town. See the great herons fly over with wings wide. Mallards scatter as big birds touch down. I want to share the kingfisher's freedom, sun glinting off the wet turtle shell. Ring in the air as cicadas and bees hum. This is the place I envision so well. I want to be in the reeds with the blackbirds, aerodynamic as swallows in flight. Over the lake, the big city seems backward, so near, so far from this beautiful sight. There's a patch of grass down under a weeping willow tree. There's a place away from people. It was meant for you and me. It was meant for you and me.
Where I stand, I acknowledge the land where we live and worship is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. This recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples are clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities. And now we continue in sacred space. I'd like to welcome Reverend Stephen Atkinson, who is our guest speaker today. And tomorrow is Earth Day. Earth Day is a day we as Unitarians celebrate as our seventh principle, which is the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. But it's also spring, a time of transformation, of rebirth, when the dormant earth transforms to embrace life and growth. And so we have the twin themes of today, transformation and earth. The Mother Earth presents many of her sides to us as the seasons change from winter to spring to summer and then to autumn and winter again. When the dominant earth transforms to embrace life and growth. Sorry, the dormant earth. And so we as humans, can we not transform as the earth does and yet be ourselves? We are presented with the themes for today's service, which is entitled Be Yourself, Be Transformed, which Reverend Stephen will share with us. Transformation requires spiritual growth, and the world needs our care, which is coincidentally our mission here at Neighborhood, which is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. As Unitarians, we are open to many beliefs and learn from many traditions. We welcome all people to our spiritual community. If you are visiting us in person for the first time, we welcome you, and we encourage you to stay after service for coffee time. Take a red mug. It's a signal that you are open to conversation. If you feel moved to become a member, you're in luck. Next week, we are welcoming a new group of new members, and it's a large one, and you could be one too. But our services vary greatly from week to week, so in your quest for spiritual community, we encourage you to sample several to get a better feel for who we are. Okay, so why not jump the gun right now and get to know us? Now is the time to take a moment to greet your neighbors. After you have greeted a few neighbors, turn to the camera at the back wall and offer a greeting to those who are joining us virtually. Suzanne will sound a chime to end. Now, greet the neighbors around you.
Hello, Sigrid.
Hello, my
morning.
friends.
Hi, Deb. Hi.
Hello. Hi, Helen and
Hi,
Tony.
Dee. Hey,
And
Helen.
Sigrid. Hi, Dee Dee.
Hello,
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, Susan Croft. Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi,
How's
Laura.
your foot, Laura?
Hi.
How's your foot?
Getting better.
Good.
How's
Slowly,
the
slowly.
service? How's the service, Laura? Is it hanging in there?
I love the jump the gun.
Now, as you all take your seats again, the Spirit Band has another song for us.
In fact, you don't have to take your seats if you don't want to, because we're all going to sing together for the Earth Forever Turning. I know for many we love Blue Boat Home as our favorite kind of Earth song, but I have to say this one is up there for me. The melody is soaring, and the lyrics are just celebrate everything about our planet. Okay.
Water, skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish. We are song of peace for the mountains, hills, and pastures. In silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, we are joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons harmonies, for the joys, for all creations, we are joyful praise for thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. For in our home we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth. Home to our blue-green hills of earth.
Too short, though. It's too short.
Hello? Oh, can you hear me? Hello? Yes? Maybe it's not on. It's on. All right. Yes? I think that's okay. All right, so my name is Julia. This is the Time for All Ages, and I would love any kids to join me. Do you feel like it? It would be nice. Kids, young of heart, maybe. Yay! Yes. Young of peace. Oh, I love it. Yes. Oh my goodness, this is getting better and better. Thank you. I feel very inspired. Now don't fight for cushions. There's enough for all of you. So have any of you children ever planted a tree? Yes. Oh, good. Well, if so, great. And hopefully this story will inspire you to plant a tree. I'm thinking that a lot of the kids might be out doing Earth Day activities today, since Earth Day is tomorrow, so maybe that explains things. So this is called The Girl Who Planted an Acorn, and it starts like this. 3 teenagers were making their way up the slopes of a great mountain, and they were nerve-ited. What is that? It's a word that I made up. Does anybody? Nervous and excited, sort of the way I feel right now. Nerve-ited, because they had never done anything like this before. They were going to spend the night alone on the mountain, and they were hoping to grow and learn from this. So a short way up, the oldest child stopped. And here, where the river sang to him, he chose to stay. And he was just rolling out his sleeping bag when suddenly he froze in fear, because there, right beside a river, was a powerful-looking black bear drinking from the water. The boy could hear his heart thumping in his chest, but the bear calmly continued to drink the water, and then it lumbered off into the forest. And the boy sensed that he was no longer in any danger from that bear. So he built his fire, and as he was looking into the flames and feeling sleepy, he was thinking about the strength, the quiet strength of that bear. So about halfway up, the middle child stopped, and here, where the sky stretched out for her, she chose to stay. So she had built her fire, and she was looking at the sunset when she noticed this bird glide. Oh, sorry, could I have the slide? I totally forgot. I got into my story. Okay, let's sort of backtrack. Here are the teenagers. So maybe you already pictured them in your mind, but here they are. Better late than never. So now this is the bear that already happened. And then the next slide, could we have the bird? So this bird glided from one end of the sky to the other. And then as the girl was looking at the flames afterwards, she was thinking about how free-spirited that bird looked. The youngest didn't stop until she got all the way up to the top of the mountain. And here, where the trees danced for her, she chose to stay. So she built her fire, crawled into her sleeping bag, and she was almost asleep when she felt something plunk and fall right beside her. Could we have the next slide? I'm on it this time. And it was an acorn. It was only an acorn. So she put her sleeping bag over her head so that no more acorns would fall on her, and she fell fast asleep. The next day, when the kids all met up, they were really excited to share their adventures. The youngest was so-so. And so her older brother and sister, they actually teased her about the acorn almost falling on her all the way home. So when she got home, she went straight away to her grandmother, and she said, "Nothing exciting happened to me on this trip, except an acorn almost fell on my head." Her grandmother took the acorn in her hands and looked at it very carefully. And then she said, "This is your gift. Go and plant it. Take good care of it and grow as it grows." So this the girl did. She planted the acorn carefully into the earth. She watered it. She sang to it. She watched it as it grew little shoots that struggled to push their way up through the earth. She saw the first branches and leaves appear. When it was a little sapling, she gave it a stick to lean on when the winds blew fiercely. This she did for many, many seasons. And as the tree grew, so did she. And the girl was happy to take care of the tree. That is, she was happy until she heard something. She heard the people talk about her older brother, and they said, "Oh, look at this, his quiet strength, he's just like a bear." And about her older sister, "Look how free-spirited she is, she's just like a bird." So she went again to her grandmother and she said, "You know, I'm really happy for my older brother and my older sister, but what about my gift? I'm wondering what gift I have to give." Her grandmother took her hands and tenderly opened up her arms and spread them like the branches of a tree. And she said, "This is your gift. And you will see the wonder a small acorn holds, a wonder that you yourself hold. Go to your tree." So this the girl did. And she stood beside her tree. And then she realized something. Over the years, creatures came to that tree for shelter and for food. And people often used it as a gathering place for meetings, to work things out. And the tree that was a small acorn had grown into a tall oak. She had not been given this, maybe she hadn't been given the strength of a bear or the free spirit of the bird, but when people were troubled, it was to her that they came, and they spoke of her with gladness, saying, "Look how gentle she is with the young ones and how kind she is to the old." Their words were true, because the girl who had planted an acorn had now grown into a person. Can we have the last slide? Whose heart branched out like a tree, giving love and shelter to everyone who came her way. Thank you. Okay.
Time for meditation. So let us settle into our seats, allowing gravity to mold your body into its most comfortable shape, taking a few gentle breaths. Quieting our minds as well as we can under our individual current circumstances. With Earth Day in mind, in this quiet, open state, we may likely be drawn first to the pain and woe of the state of creation around us, far wider than the natural forces that can be destructive. We see the vast extent and depth of our own dark influence on nature, and our hearts ache for what is being lost or spread or changed too fast. And also in this quiet, open state, we consider the multitude of blessings and gifts that we are given by all the levels of creation. Sunlight to energize our planet's creativity, air to breathe, water to drink, greenery to refresh and feed us, animals to show us how to be free, and other animals to accompany us closely. Families we're born into or choose, or both, to help us learn how to live. May we allow our gratitude for all of these gifts and many more to rise up within our being as if it were a deep breath, to flow through us as if it were our nourishing blood, to fill our minds with grace and beauty. In a few moments of silence, may we face the conflict we can feel when both gratitude and loss rush toward us from the reality of nature.
invite you all to come back after that restful time. Thank you, Reverend Stephen. Thank you, Spirit Band. Reverend Stephen has asked us to do a reading, and I asked Suzanne if she would read it, so Suzanne.
So Stephen heard the Reverend Gail Geisenheiner tell a story something like this during a sermon at a major UUA General Assembly worship service some years ago. He has constructed what she said this way. After my early religious upbringing and previous church experiences that didn't go so well, I hear about the Unitarians. I hear that they accept people just as they are. And so I go to that church that first Sunday, showing them just exactly who I am. I zoom into the parking lot, roaring up on my Harley. Now, I'm a big woman, 6 feet, big boned, as they say. And at that time, my hair is spiked 6 inches high, right down the middle of my cranium. I'm in my leathers, fully decked out, and I mean leather, with the zippers, the rivets, the leather pants, the Doc Martens. I mean to let them have a full blast of me the first time they see me, to see just what they're gonna do about it. To my surprise, the small gray-haired lady at the church door takes only a split second longer looking at me than anybody else. She hands me an order of service with a sweet smile and says, "Welcome to our church." I'm surprised in an ambivalent kind of way, both pleased not to have faced shock or fear, but also a little disappointed, the low level of impact that I've made on this woman. And then also a bit afraid myself that I might have started something that would lead me somewhere I wasn't sure I wanted to go. And now you see me here in this dress, my hair done, standing up before all of you and preaching at this huge gathering of Unitarian Universalists. And I still am exactly who I am.
Well read, Suzanne. Thank you. So transformation. Some of you know about the transformation of age, which brings up various kinds of spots in various places. And I had a mole that I wanted looked at on Thursday, and then I had some spots removed. So that's why I have these spots around my face. They're all age spots. They're just... The dermatologist sort of sprayed me like hairspray with frozen liquid nitrogen. So I just had to get that out of the way. Excuse me. So a dozen years ago, right about now, this time of year, I mean, the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association presented its first Institute for Excellence in Ministry, a high-level, multi-day professional development conference. It's so exciting thinking about it ahead of time, knowing a lot of my well-beloved but rarely seen colleagues will be there. It doesn't hurt that it's in Pacific Grove, California. The promotional campaign material highlights both the possibility and the plan that those who attend will be transformed. The hope, promise, and yearning of all are that we ministers will come and have an experience to guide, inform, and inspire our leadership for years to come. And that in turn, our congregations and other people we serve will be similarly transformed. That's transformation with a capital T. What minister isn't interested in transformation with a capital T? Certainly I am. So imagine our surprise and delight during the opening worship when the Reverend Dr. Jane Zepka, who is one of our most revered preachers in the United States, says something like, "I'm just not sure I'm up for a capital T transformation." People laugh. And she says, that takes a lot of energy, and besides, I kind of like myself the way I am. Maybe I'll just go for a small t transformation. And she goes on to reflect that our lives as ministers, she goes on to reflect on our lives as ministers, how we've all carved out just these few days to be together, traveling long distances, some on red-eye flights where no doubt they checked their email, leaving behind families, congregants, already long to-do lists, knowing they will be far longer when we all return. We have all come perhaps in hope of such capital T transformation, even though we might be too tired to let it happen. More laughter and sighs of relief go through the crowd. She's talking truth. Maybe just a little transformation will be enough. So your lives aren't all that different from all those ministers. You carve out time from busy schedules to be here on Sunday morning. There's a trail of chores and worries behind each of you. You may not even be fully present yet here and now. My body often arrives before my being does. So I'll quote almost word for word something else that Jane Zepka said that day. You are welcome here just as you are. Whether you are out of time, out of touch, out of breath, out of luck, out of fashion, out of sync, out of work, out of control, out of context, or out of your mind, you are welcome here just as you are. That applies to today as well. So I recognize that tension between accepting myself as I am and being interested in some kind of transformation. And perhaps you do also recognize that. Do we come to church to be accepted as we are? Or do we come seeking change, some kind of transformation? And if we come to be accepted as we are, how does it feel to be nudged towards change and transformation? And if we come seeking transformation, what does it mean to be told, oh, you're just fine the way you are? Some say, what do you mean I'm fine the way I am? I have doubts, fears, my personality is full of holes, my judgment's poor, my life is a mess. Can't you help me with any of that? Being acceptable as we are is one of the fundamental teachings of Unitarian Universalism. Our first principle says that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And underlying that pronouncement is a long, deep religious history of interpreting Christian teachings differently. One of them that we interpret differently is the belief that Jesus was a prophetic human being, just a human being. And if Jesus was just a human being, then maybe it's okay for human beings to be human, that we aren't such bad creatures. In fact, we're noble creatures, born whole and free, not reeking of sinfulness and depravity. That's one of the original distinctions between Unitarian belief and mainstream Christian theology in many places, not every denomination. Thank you so much. We see it in the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and that means that when we come to the door of this church for the first time, we are fine just the way we are. We are unique and perfect human beings, worthy of love and acceptance, just as all human beings are. Now wait, you might say. I know a heck of a lot of human beings who are not perfect. I don't even think I'm perfect. What do you mean, perfect? Well, by perfect, I mean the state of completeness and wholeness in which we are born. We each are fully human. Nothing about us is less than human, nor more than human. Even if something about us is near one of the extremes of human capacity, we are just human. And that humanness is perfect. We don't believe we are born in sin, but we're as likely to make mistakes or wrong choices as anyone else. And this is a powerful message that we have to offer people. We are complete and whole as human beings, and in that sense, perfect. So let me tell you a part of my story that you might not have heard, and especially here, I've only been here a couple of times. It's the moment in my life when I receive a message of utter acceptance. It was 25 years ago, also right about now. It's a Tuesday during my lunch break. I remember that for sure. I'm coming out of a long, sorry, I will do water again. I'm coming out of a long period of darkness, anger and pain and loss and vengeance, to be honest. And I decided it's time to open myself up again to the world and to the beyond. This kind of experience can happen to anyone, and in fact is much more common than we think, especially we as Unitarian Universalists think. I often ask people to tell me about their stories. But in my case, and sometimes it happens totally spontaneously out of the blue, but in my case, it happens when I begin to pray. After a long drought of interest in connecting with the higher power, I sit down and I say, well, here I am. And at that very moment, that instant, love pours down upon me. And with it comes knowledge, knowledge as solid as a fact that I am okay, that I have always been okay, no matter what in heck was going on, and that I will always be okay in that core of myself. Now that's not very profound. You're okay. In fact, it's plain and simple, but the impact was enormous. In fact, it was transforming with a capital T. Transformation like this is either a deep psychological process or a spiritual, even let's say conversion, but I believe it's both, psychological and spiritual. My experience happens to occur when I'm alone, and it has about it an unmistakable sense of beyond this worldness. But the truth is also that long and often before that time, and frequently and repeatedly since then, the message that I'm okay has been delivered to me by human beings, thank God. You don't always have to wait for this to happen. It can happen right here. If people don't keep telling me, I'm sure I'll start to disbelieve it. That's just my nature. And this message is one that we can give to each other, whether it's here at church or in our families or in our lives. A message to others that you are accepted as you are. And we must give it and hear it, and keep giving it and keep hearing it, or we will start to lose belief in ourselves. Spiritual or not, both acceptance and transformation need to be affirmed and reaffirmed by those around us. It's a paradox that being accepted for who we are is an experience that changes us. Some of us are lucky enough to be told from the beginning by our parents and surroundings that we are fine just as we are. But many of us have not been lucky like that. And we may have received or interpreted parental messages as mixed or worse. And sometimes it's the environment around us that gives us those messages that we are not fine. And when we are given messages that we are accepted for who we are, and as we come to believe them, it's an odd thing that we tend not to sit back into an easy chair, knowing we're okay, enjoying that moment. Instead, we're often inspired to change. I'm okay. I want to change. Instead, when I have my experience, I change simply by being blessed by so much love and acceptance. But my behavior towards other people alters immediately. I want to be different, just walking down Yonge Street from my office to my home, looking at people eye to eye, having some of them smile right back at me. I don't know what's happened in my face, but I'm with the people that, Yonge Street at rush hour. I'm with all those people, and some of them see me being with them. It was almost miraculous in terms of an internal change. And after that, it becomes clear that somehow I will change my life in response to this message, though not yet. Knowing that it's okay to be who I am prompts me to change. That's a bit odd. I think that what happens when we are told or come to understand that we are acceptable is that the pressure comes off. The old pressure from outside and from inside too, that we're inadequate, guilty, shameful, that we're not okay as we are. And when this pressure is off, and we are starting from a point of loving and accepting ourselves, we can more easily see that we're flawed beings too. It's easier to see the flaws when we know that we're okay. Our being perfect as human beings is not the same as being flawless. Sometimes we come to see that the failings we've been told about and fought against are true, at least to some degree. And in the past, we may have wanted to fight that, but now we might have a desire to become better, because that's what we want now for our good, precious, acceptable selves. And when we become ready to be who we are, we become more accepting of where we are in our lives, instead of wishing to be someplace else or fighting off the messages that we should be. We accept where we are as a result of being who we are, which has always been okay. For many, we can finally settle down into the lives we have with a contentment we've never known. But for some, the paradox is that after some period of deepening into the appreciation of where and who we are, we then want to move on, to mature, to grow, to fulfill this somehow. We're freer of the burdens that held us down before, and freer to be ready to imagine that we may be more than we have ever thought was possible. In this sense, the simple experience of being ourselves leads to transformation. Now, Suzanne read us so well about the Reverend Gail Geisenheiner and her experience of transformation. This biker woman version of hers arrives at that church Sunday morning thinking that she is being herself, which may well mean thinking that she is all that she is going to be or will ever want to be. Maybe that's part of her being herself at that point. And somehow she goes from there to being a minister widely known enough and respected that she has chosen to preach to thousands of Unitarian Universalists. And although she preaches in a dress, if she wanted to, it'd be entirely fine if she wore her leathers. To be accepted as you are is to be allowed to imagine all you want to be. Perhaps biker Gail arrives that morning not just wanting to see if she'll be accepted as she is, but also with a longing buried behind the barriers of her looks and behavior. Many arrive here longing for something different in a church, different in the community, different in the world, different in the heart. And what I'm saying is the most powerful means we can offer to each other to satisfy longings to change or be changed is to accept each other as we are. Mohawk leather rivets and all. Be yourself, be transformed. The mystery is that when we are ourselves, we will transform. We can't help it, but we can help each other get to it. And may we do that today and in the future.
Thank you so much. So now is the time that we call the question to the community. I'm just going to do maybe 2 or 3 of people in the room. And the question that we have today is, do you have a story of personal transformation? And what brought it about? And what image from nature comes to your mind as you think about it? Well, I've got 2 here, 3. That's great.
About 30 years ago, I stumbled into a vision quest, which was my introduction to the Twisted Hair's medicine tradition, which led to a deep personal transformation as I accessed aspects of myself that I hadn't believed or thought were there. And I think the image from nature that would come to mind would be an onion where the layers get peeled off successively, revealing deeper layers.
I would say transforming from caring about the world and justice to becoming an activist. And what brought it about is this community, my singing communities, other UU communities I'm a part of. And the image from nature that comes to mind is the wind of change, both blowing from the past, pushing me forwards, and continuing through my songs and outwards to the people around me.
Well, within 5 years, I had 3 really crappy diagnoses, my genetic diagnosis, breast cancer, and then a terrible car accident. And I said, who's trying to tell me to wake up? So my connection to is the universe was talking to me.
Okay, we'll do the last one here.
Thanks. I didn't realize it, but growing up, I think I really was a very shame-based person. I think this idea of like being acceptable, I had no concept of that. And then after decades of personal work and all sorts of communities and support, I really, to what our guest speaker was saying, this idea of being like deeply accepted and that being the place that we can transform from. So yeah, I feel like that's just such a great example of like we actually can fundamentally transform our experience of ourselves and life and who we are in the world. And the image I always have is the butterfly. We think of the cocoon as this kind of, beautiful time before it comes a butterfly, but it's actually this, it dissolves its body. It's a real messy process inside that cocoon, but then by allowing that to happen and going along with it, we're actually able to become something completely different. So yeah, that's really been my experience of life, and I love to share that with other people. Thank you.
That's a wonderful place to leave it. Thank you all for that. So now is the time. I'm just going to pop this back in here. Now is the time for our offertory. There's a sense in the public that churches are rich, and for some evangelicals that may be the case, but we are not. Rents and salaries are paid, and programs are created from your contributions. I remember Bob Rafos, who this sanctuary is named after, would make it a practice to put money in the basket each week, even though he was very generous to the congregation. He felt the practice reminded him how important the act of giving was. If you're online, please use the link displayed on the screen, which leads you to our donations page on our website, and we ask in all ways that you be generous now. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. As the greeters pass the baskets, Suzanne will teach us a song.
Yes. So I'm bringing you a song from some climate activism I've been a part of. The song was written by Cassie Norton, who's a Toronto singer-songwriter and very active in climate justice. Could we bring up the slide for the lyrics, please? I'll teach you the chorus. I'll sing the verses myself once we get to the song, but I'm hoping you will join me on the chorus. So I'll teach it to you. It sounds, we're not alone, we share our home. Can we try that? We're not alone, we share our home. Yes. With all the animals, the plants, and the trees. With all the animals, the plants, and the trees. And then, we need them all, from big to small. We need them all, from big to small, to fill our skies, our lands, and our seas. To fill our skies, our land, and our seas. Let's try to put all of that together. We're not alone, we share our home with all the animals, the plants, and the trees. We need them all, from big to small, to fill our skies, our lands, and our seas. We're not alone, we share our home with all the animals, the plants, and the trees. We need them all, from big to small, to fill our skies, our lands, and our seas. You've got it. Thank you. I will.
If you have found love and acceptance here, if you have found home here, if you have known kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of gratitude for our common life as we build the common good. Now let's join the Spirit Choir in song.
Yes, Spirit Band. Could we get the next slide, please? There we go. All right. Yes, thank you for rising. The earth, it is our home, but it's never been anyone's to own. We're not alone, we share our home with all the animals, the plants, and the trees. We need them all, from big to small, to fill our skies, our land, and our seas. We're not alone, we share our home with all the animals, the plants, and the trees. We need them all, from big to small, to fill
Thank you. I'm just going to ask Lynn to come, and I'm going to come get you extinguish our chalice.
Chalice has been darkened. We hold the fire within our own hearts.
We have a tradition of forming a circle and holding hands. And if not holding hands, touching shoulders, or reaching out your hand to a distant person, and I invite you to do that now. And I'm going to let Reverend Stephen do our blessing.
I do need this hand. May we go out into this world being transformed by the new season, knowing that we too can be transformed by warmth and light. Let us feel peace within while needing courage. Let us hold on to what is good and confront all evils to all living things and all that sustains them. May we strengthen the faint-hearted and support the weak in whatever forms they live. Let us help our suffering world and honor all of creation. Amen.
Our service is ended. Go in peace.
Thank you.